And at this time, we are going to call the meeting to order. First line of business is we'll have our roll call.
Mr. Barker.
Present.
Mr. Pizzoli.
Present.
Mr. Farquhar.
Present.
Ms. Ford. Mr. Tooley.
Present.
Ms. Hurd.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Present.
Ms. Jameson.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Let us stand and have our invocation, and we'll be led in our pledge by Vice Chair Hurd. Father God, we come now to deliberate over the business of the city, to bring beautification to the Midtown area. We ask you to be with us and direct our steps, that it will cause a new Midtown to flourish. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We see Ms. Ford coming in. And at this time, we will have our staff report. I'm sorry, we need to go through the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes for March 11th? At this time, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for Tuesday, March 11th, 2014 as printed.
So move.
No second.
Second. Yeah.
All right. It has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and we approve the minutes. Staff report, the ComStat report from the police department. We've looked over that. Is anyone here from the department that wishes to address this? No. Okay. I haven't seen very many changes in it. Any discussion on the ComStat report?
When's their next meeting?
They meet on alternating Thursdays. The next one, if I'm not mistaken, will be not this Thursday, but next Thursday. Is that correct? I think it'll be, not this week, but next week. Next, we go to code enforcement.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to defer this. Mr. Lopez is supposed to be here tonight, so he's probably running late. If not, then I'll try to address any issues you might have at the end. I want to give him a chance.
All right, then we'll move the code enforcement down. We'll try to get that taken care of before the public comments and after the redevelopment project updates. Next order of business is the discussion of developmental 213-135 conceptual plan, Daytona Toyota South. Oh, Mr.
Okay.
You mind if we take a step back and go ahead and get our code enforcement now? Came in just a little later than I expected, but you're ready.
Apologize. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Eddie Lopez, Code Enforcement, Daytona Beach.
Okay.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. After looking over code enforcement, did anyone have anything they needed to address directly to Mr. Lopez? We requested he be here because of some concerns. Go ahead, Ms. Ford.
Reading last month's report, and I was not here, but I guess just to find out what are they doing about some of these open cases, are they being addressed?
Many of them have gone to hearing.
Okay.
Others I'm working with the citizens on extensions, on coming in to repair the properties that's been cited.
Now, my questions, or maybe a comment more so, some of the same violations have come from time to time, and I understand some of it may be the elderlies or the older resident of our community. Salvation Army brought up about a streets team program. Have that been implemented into the Midtown area? Have you worked closely, or is that a projected project that you're going to be looking at to help some of these violations?
I'm just now hearing that. That's a great, idea if they brought it to my attention, but I haven't heard anything about that. And I haven't spoken to anybody with Salvation Army or any other programs.
Because they came and presented last month. And, yeah, you can just kind of share a little bit, because that would definitely help some of the elderly residents.
Yes, Board, the streets team is starting to gear up. We've been working with them. Actually have a meeting tomorrow with Public Works, and we're trying to get them on board with Public Works. Again, this is a streets team that is strictly sponsored and paid for through the Salvation Army. So we're kind of at their mercy as far as some of the things that they can do and cannot do, and work with the city and work through Public Works, trying to get them. We mentioned last month that there's certain things that they can do and certain things they can't do because of the equipment and liabilities with not only Salvation Army but also with the city. So there will be a meeting tomorrow with Public Works to try to iron out some of the things that been keeping them from actually doing a lot of things. So we're working with them. I meet with them on a monthly basis with the Salvation Army streets team. They meet here at City Hall, and we're working closely with them to get them up to speed and get them going in Midtown.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Lopez.
All right.
I continue to ask, why is it that the cars continue to park on sidewalks on MLK? I know that's a code enforcement and police.
It's a police issue. I have spoken with the property owner of the tire shop that also owns the property adjacent to, which is the building, apartment building right next to it. On the property, there is a sign posted, no parking. I showed him the sign, so there shouldn't be any vehicles parked there. During my shift,
right now.
Just a second, please.
during my shift, they're not parked there. And if they are, I'll work with the code enforcement liaison and have somebody go out there, a police officer to go out there.
Okay, mainly on the corner of Magnolia and MLK at the record shop, the music shop there. If you go by there now, they are parked right at the door on the sidewalk. I mean, this takes away from our neighborhood. And I've been asking this for months.
All right, I'll bring it to our liaison and see what we can do there. I know that property is owned by the university, Bethune-Cookman,
Not the one I'm speaking of,
the record shop.
the record shop.
Yes.
Oh, okay then. Okay. Regardless of who it belonged to, I want it
Well, regardless
done.
who it belongs to, but I'm going to try and speak with the property owners to see if we can cease that activity.
And I will also speak
I've
to
already
them.
spoken with the tenant, which is the record shop owner there, not to park any vehicles in front of the property. Now, you can park the vehicles on the side because that's his parking space.
Okay, so that belonged to Bethune-Cookman?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll see them tomorrow.
Okay. Any help will be greatly
I
appreciated.
don't need any help.
I
will
need the
see-
help.
Oh,
I need the help.
I will see them tomorrow.
Okay, now, Mr. Lopez, I know that you all have dealt with the 528 Cedar Street, which was an abandoned house and people were living in it. And it was cleaned out very nicely, but they are beginning to congregate there again. And since they know that you guys are off at 5 o'clock, they wait until about 7 to begin to congregate and sell their drugs and other things in the house. What can be done after hours in a situation like that?
Well, probably could put that, get in contact, was that boarded up, that property?
Yes, it
boarded up.
was.
So I'll speak with our code enforcement liaison, see if we can get a patrol in the area there. We do have a program, the police department has a program where it's a no trespass arrest site program, but since that property is probably going under foreclosure or through the banks, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but I could speak with the liaison, code enforcement, and see if we can work something where a patrol could pass by there on a regular basis or when they have a chance.
Okay.
Thank you. Speaking of abandoned property, maybe you can tell me what's going on with the property approximately 539, 541 MLK in front of Shalom Baptist Church there. The two-story building. What's going on
That
there?
property was bought out. I think they're renovating or fixing some stuff in that building.
No, sir.
Is that the corner building?
The
On
one the car ran into.
I'm not familiar with that one. What building was that?
It is to the north of
He
the
knows-
old Shiloh Church.
He knows exactly where it is. Mr. Bryant knows.
I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it. I think I made contact once with the property owner. I think they live in Orlando. This is the house that vehicle ran into, and we had it boarded up. I did make contact with them. We was looking at trying to purchase it from them at one point. Never got any other information back from them. As far as I know, they still the owner of the property, but I'll try to make contact with them again.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know the exact address, but I know. If you get the address, we'll get it.
Okay. I have another question real quick. My question pretty much is, how many violations do they have to commit or is committed prior to them being taken to court or being pursued to that point?
Usually we give them a reasonable amount of time. A reasonable amount of time could be 10 days, 15 days, depending on what the violation may be. It could be 30 days. After that 30-day process or 15 days, a request for a hearing will be set.
Okay, and now what if this is their second sets of violations? Because some of these, again, the complaints with overgrown lots and not being maintained and so forth, been coming months after months, seem to be some of the same addresses and so forth. What else can be done, or is there anything else being done to alleviate this problem?
Well, the city does mow them, and, we
They
cite
charge
them,
it. Okay,
just working with the citizens,
okay,
try to keep it up.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I do. I just want to thank you for spending a couple hours with me a couple of weeks ago, and I really appreciate it. Learned a lot about what you do and what code enforcement is all about. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We thank you for coming in, Mr. Lopez. We appreciate it. We miss seeing you now. Okay.
Anytime. A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All
Thank you very
right.
much.
One other question.
Sure.
And Dr. Jameson has been asking this, and she brought it up years ago concerning the grass growing on the sidewalk and in the streets and things, especially South Martin Luther King.
South Martin Luther King. Lovely.
Bellevue area between South Street.
Usually, we do have a ordinance where it's the parkage, and usually the property owner has to maintain the parkage area, but I have had assistance with Public Works, which has mowed that area.
They have not mowed the streets and the sidewalks. That's where the grass is growing.
But
You want to add something?
now, that's not really a code enforcement. That's Public Works.
Okay, that's part of it.
That's Public Works. We're working, that's one of the duties we're going to try to pass on to the streets team. That's why I said we are trying to determine the liability for them using weed eaters and equipment. And once we get that taken care of, then hopefully we'll have them out there doing some of this.
Thank you.
Like I said before, they did help me on a few occasions when I requested help to clean that up, so they did help me. So if they take it over, then that'd be great as well.
All right. Mr. Lopez, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is the conceptual review. Again, if there is anyone from the audience that wishes to speak on any topic on the agenda, please fill out one of the green sheets so that we will know who it is and give it to the secretary. Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, Mr. Chair, Charles Bryant, Redevelopment Project Manager. I want to recognize our past design professional, Mr. Kim McGee, is here tonight. We thank him for coming tonight, and also introduce our new design professional, Mr. Joseph Pulowski. Pazuli. Okay, Mr. Pazuli. He's our new design professional, and also we have an alternate design professional, Mr. David Schwartz. Okay, he would be, he works with Mr. Pazoli there, and he would be here when Mr. Pazoli can't. He's our design professional, and we want to thank him for being a part of this board. We thank him for being here. We had an orientation with him yesterday, so he's ready to roll and get off the ground with a new site plan, conceptual site plan tonight. So it's good to see full board tonight, full house. So we are ready to go to work. And you have in front of you conceptual review, agenda item number 7, DEV 2013-135. This is the applicant is Mark Dowse, PE, on behalf of Daytona Beach BR/GC Inc., Daytona Beach. Toyota South is the project. 451 North Nova Road is the location for the project. And review board action, review the conceptual site plan as required by Article 5 and 5.1 of the Land Development Code. The project description is Daytona Toyota South is a proposed 30,305 square foot auto sales and service facility. The project is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Nova Road and West International Speedway Boulevard, West ISB in the Midtown redevelopment area. The project site is currently vacant. The site was the former location of Daytona Beach Lincoln Automobile Dealership. The previous use was auto sales and service. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the site with the new auto sales and service dealership. This is a site plan over 20,000 square feet for the review and input of the Midtown Redevelopment Area Board. The applicant is requesting that the board review the attached site plan information and provide any comments for the conceptual review of the project. The project has been through one review by staff. During review, staff noted that the site is required to meet the compatible compatibility requirements in Article 18-1. The proposed automobile use is adjacent to single-family uses located in a residential zone property. The property is located to the east of the site along Harvey Street of single-family uses. The project is required to have a 10-foot landscape buffer with a wall on the east boundary line. The applicant is requesting a 5-foot buffer along the east boundary line. The LDC does permit the modification of the compatible requirements under the following provision, Article 1.8, which states the modification. You do have the package. We do have the applicant, a representative for the applicant here tonight that will be able to present some other drawings, some other pictures that we have that will be coming up on the screen. They'll be here to answer any question regarding the site plan. Mr. Dawson, you're going to do it. Mr. Morris, Mr. Jim Morris is going to do the presentation.
Okay, just before Mr. Morris comes, one of the things we need to remember, Board, is that we're dealing with conceptual site plan. One of the things we cannot deal with here is how many jobs are going to be available, who is going to be hired, and things like that. We are simply dealing with the conceptual site plan.
Okay, I'll use the paper. But thank you, I'll do this too. All right, maybe we'll go around to this. Chairman, board members, I'm Jim Morris. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'm joined by the engineer, Mark Dowse, with the tie, and the property owner, Mr. Gib Danahauer. Mr. Danahauer owns Daytona Toyota as well on Nova Road, which is further north, and I mention that because he's invested in the community. That property isn't in Midtown, but you can see how well they keep their property up. And this is the old Daytona Lincoln Mercury. Everybody knows about it. I've looked at it a bunch, looked at it a few minutes before I came here. Mr. Danahauer's plan is to reuse that property. I've got some handouts coming around to you that'll give you some illustrations, as well as the stuff that the staff has on their computer. But it will be new construction. Initially, he was going to use the existing buildings, and it really wasn't going to work out to do that. So it will be new construction. And as the chairman mentioned, this is conceptual review, and what I've given you are conceptual plans from the perspective of there's not a ton of detail in the plans, but it does show the landscaping on the site. The former site had about 9% landscaping. We've got about 16% landscaping now. There's going to be 2 new buildings on the site. There's an existing screening wall on the eastern side of the property where the homes are located on Harvey Street. The wall stops where the property becomes adjacent to the commercial frontage that's on 92. So there on that commercial frontage, there's the old Army-Navy store. I saw something called the NSB Clothing Company and a few other stores. And, of course, there's a gas station across the street. So what I've done, as you look through it, the first plan you got is a black and white plan. That's the landscape plan. And it kind of gives you an overall configuration of the site plan. The second set of drawings are stapled together, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And the object of that is so you can look at the buildings on the first page and turn back and see the corresponding color illustration of the building that will be where the number 1 or 2 happens to indicate what's going to be there. So if we start with number 1, that's the Nova Road frontage.
Right.
And I know that y'all have probably noticed some construction immediately north of the property. That's O'Reilly's, and O'Reilly Auto Parts is coming onto that site. So it looks to me like a little preliminary earthwork occurring there.
Yeah.
But the property before you tonight has not been disturbed. It's been picked up some, but really it needs to all go, as you probably know, and be replaced with new construction. So building number 1 will be the biggest building on the site, and it's illustrated on the next page where you see the large red number 1 to show you the facade of the building. And then number 2 is actually a separate building, and when you go back to the site plan, you see that it's the one that would sort of be to the east and a little bit north of Dunkin' Donuts. So So Dunkin' Donuts is going to stay there.
Green.
Ma'am?
Krispy Kreme.
Chris, I'm sorry. Dunkin' Donuts. I've lived here all my life, and I know it says hot donuts on the window. Thank you.
There is a difference.
Yeah, I know there is, and I apologize, and I appreciate the correction. The donut shop. What I was going to get to is the traffic issues associated with the donut shop. From the standpoint of the donut shop, it's an independently owned piece of property. That property owner likes the way things are situated, and while not a city planner in the world would approve that today, not a donut shop owner in the world is going to give it up today. So, because people can zip in, zip out, and that's what suits the business, and I guess, it stayed there and survived. So, anyway, the second building is the one that's going to be more towards the 92 frontage. And then if you look at illustration number 3, that shows you the view that you would see if you were on 92. And if you were westbound on 92, you'd look to your right-hand side while you were stopped at the traffic light. And this will be just to the west of the existing little commercial group where the Army-Navy store is and the other things that are there in that group of buildings. From the standpoint of the homes on Harvey Street, the wall back there is approximately 8 feet tall. I know the code says it should be shorter, but I actually went and took photos of the site and counted the courses of block. Block are about 8 inches tall, and it turns out to be about 8 feet in height. There's going to be landscaping done on this property in the interior of the site because the wall itself is built on the property line. So from the perspective of the people that live in the homes, nothing can be done on their side. It's their property, and they're in control of it. And the wall actually sits just as if this was the property line. It sits right here. So the eastern side of the wall is the property or the control of the people in the homes. The western side of the wall is the control of Toyota. The wall does take a jog. So landscaping will be in there, and that is where the waiver is requested. And it's requested just from a standpoint of the depth of the property. When you look at the frontage of the property, and I'm going to ask Mr. Dowse to come up and help me a little bit with the landscape details on the Nova Road frontage in terms of the prior depth that Daytona Lincoln Mercury had and what's proposed now.
Good evening. My name is Mark Doust. I'm the project engineer, and our firm did the surveying, engineering, and landscaping for the project. Currently, if you go out there today, you'll notice on Nova Road there is no landscape buffer. The asphalt comes right up to the road, and one of the things in working with the city, we knew it was a constrained site, but one of the things they really wanted to try and hold the line on is a full 25-foot landscape buffer along Nova Road. So the redevelopment of the site includes that full buffer. Also, I might point out along 92, currently there is no landscape buffer, and the code calls for 10-foot, and a full 10-foot is being provided. Those were things that were pretty hard and fast requirements. It did make the site a little constrained, but we were able to work through it, but I wanted to point those out to you.
Okay.
So I think that really gives a fairly full explanation of the site. We're here to answer your questions and hear your comments, and we have to come back to you again for a more detailed site plan review, and I'm hoping that could be at your next meeting. Mr. Dannenhauer has owned the property for a while, and I asked him about his construction plans, and in this day and age, when you read the paper that says, well, they're on hold and they're not doing anything. Mr. Dannenhauer's position is exactly the opposite. He is not on hold. He's ready to go and going to go ahead and clear the site, build the new buildings. Construction, he estimates, will take probably a year from the time they commence, because in that time period, effectively, everything is going to be replaced. The paving will be reworked a little bit, but there'll be utilities work done on the property. The structures themselves will be completely removed, new structures put in place, new landscaping in place. The screening wall that's in the back will stay in place and never be disturbed. And that's really, I think, what I've got to tell you about it, but I know that you may have questions, and I might have made another mistake somewhere along the line, so if so, ask me.
Ms. Ford?
I do have a question. It says it requires a 10-foot landscape buffer wall with a wall on the east boundary line.
Yes, ma'am.
You're requesting a 5-foot instead of a 10?
That's correct. And along that,
Right.
the face, if you go back to the landscape plan, which was the
Okay.
first page. And when you go on Harvey Street, there's a couple of houses that sit in what effectively is like the cove of the wall, and by that I mean this area here where the wall runs north-south, the homes are west, and the dealership, east, and the dealership is west.
Right.
In that area, to try and line this service road, and what you have to do to consider this is begin up front where the city wants a 25-foot landscape buffer. Then you look at, this is the area for display and service,
Okay.
and the structure itself, and then lining up the corridor road coming down along the back line is where the space gets consumed. Now, if this was new construction and things didn't coexist the way they do already, and it was a new site too, I suppose it would be a little bit different circumstance. But the fact is that the homes that have been there a long time. I don't know how long, but I'm going to say probably from the 70s. Dealership was built somewhere in that same time period, and my point is, while the dealership was active in a part of the community, the homes and the business coexisted. We're coming in now with new construction, and one of the things that's going to happen when you deal with new construction, the lighting standards today are much different than you would have had in the 70s in terms of protecting homes from the glare and so on the backside, also dealing with public address systems and those kind of things. It simply doesn't happen now the way it used to happen. I remember when the Ford dealership was on 92 and the noise that you would have around those kind of places, and it's, I know that it's not there anymore, but these dealerships actually don't work that way now. If you go to Daytona Toyota or to the Chevrolet dealership immediately to the north, it's simply a different operation. But the reason for the waiver is that the alignment of the site from the standpoint of circulating traffic around to manage the traffic requires the space to safely operate. Initially, I had prepared a variance application, and we were ready to file it, and the staff said to us we really should come to this board to discuss the waiver. We were fine with that. I immediately pulled the variance request, and we come to you tonight to work with you on this matter and other matters that you have questions about.
Okay.
Chair? Yes, ma'am.
I too have questions about that 10-foot waiver, and it was mentioned that it's 8 right now. Somebody said 8 feet, and then you say that the requirement is 10, but you want to make it 5, and I have not yet seen a reason why it can't be 10. I think the 10 is that wall is primarily not for traffic flow, but for noise into the neighborhood.
The wall is absolutely for screening.
The second part of that is you're asking us about it, but I think you should ask the residents on Harvey Street which is best for them, a 5-foot, 8-foot, or 10-foot, whichever it's going to be, because I'm not so concerned about, as you say, traffic flow, but it's the noise factor that they're concerned about, and that wall will at least block the noise from in their neighborhood at night. So, and I'm also wondering if when this is sent to be approved, under what circumstance, you can answer this.
Okay.
Under what circumstances would you be given that waiver? So I'm just wondering, what was the requirement for the 10-foot? And if it's the noise factor, then what you're saying won't make any difference to whoever's going to approve it. I was just wondering about that. But we're not at that point.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway.
And before you answer that, can I just say, what is the foot of the building currently at the Daytona? Because my parents own property on Walker where his current dealership, so how tall is that wall?
Let me try to get that question and come back to you, and I'm going to ask Mr. Dowse to come back up too. Excuse me, Chairman, may I try to answer that question first and then? Okay. First and foremost, the wall is there, it's not going to be moved, not going to be changed. It's on the property line. So the wall, as far as the screening is concerned, the wall really does the primary job. From the standpoint of the landscaping that's going to occur adjacent to the wall, the key issue there, I don't think, is whether it's 5 feet, 8 feet, or 10 feet from the standpoint of what screening it does. I think really the key issue is the sort of plants that you put in it that go above the wall and act to really buffer above the height of the wall, both from a light and noise perspective, because you know that trees and canopies are going to have an effect on reduction of noise, where if you did 5 feet of hedge plants or 10 feet of hedge plants, it wouldn't make any difference at all. From the perspective of the site design, I'm going to ask Mr. Douse to come back. And then, Chairman, when that question is answered satisfactorily, if we can answer Mrs. Ford's questions, we'll try to do that.
My concern is the residents knowing this, not us.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
There
Do
is
the
a
residents know anything?
excuse me, Mark.
Certainly.
Well, the residents have notice of what's going on here. If you want me to go down there and see the folks, I'll go down there and see the
That's what
folks.
I want to know, what you have said to the residents.
We haven't spoken to the residents. We've given the notice it's required. This is our first step. We've got to
Yeah.
come again. And I'm not sure if you heard me, but if you said, if you want me to go down and see the folks on the street, I'll go see the folks on the street.
Might have to.
I'll go. I'll tell you right now, I will.
I just have one more question and I'm finished. This is Toyota. I'm very familiar with them. I owe them money. Are you moving that facility?
No, ma'am.
This is a second one?
It's in addition to.
Okay, all right.
Daytona's been good to Daytona Toyota.
Been good to me.
So what we want to do is, I think, I'm not sure, speak to the design layout and the alignment.
As I mentioned before, the city was really desirous to get the full 25-foot buffer on Nova Road. Originally, there was another row of cars that used to occupy that space. So what happened when we pushed it back, we lost an aisleway, we lost a whole row of cars. And the building placement in the back, the proposed building, is in the same distance from the property, the rear property, as the new building will be. There's no change in that distance. The wall, same location, same height, and actually the landscape buffer is the same size as what was there before. It's actually going to be a foot or two bigger. The problem comes in the width of the drive behind that building. If we were to try and take another 5 foot off of it, what happens is cars that go behind that building can't make the radius to get in the open doors, and they end up doing 3 and 6 point turns to try and get into those doors. So the extra room that we're getting allows that traffic to flow smoothly in and out of the building. From the standpoint of buffering, since the landscape waiver is on the west side of the wall as opposed to the east side, the resident will not know the difference because they physically don't see that landscaping that's on the other side of the wall. It really has an effect on the dealership, but from the resident, they shouldn't really see any difference because it's on the other side.
I had a question.
Plant types.
Mr. Chair.
We want to talk a little bit about plant type too, if we could.
This
Just a
building
second.
is facing the back.
Yes, ma'am.
This building
It's
is
correct.
facing the back.
Yes, ma'am,
He's
you're right.
already got 2 questions.
That is
And
correct.
they won't be able to drive that. That's what you're talking about. This one.
No, ma'am. It'd be like this. The wrong way, but I'm driving this way.
Uh-huh.
I need to turn it into a bay. So you've got bays. You have bays in back of the building that service comes through and works that way. So you've got to be
Okay.
able to make that turn in
Into-
to the corner. Yes, ma'am. So you got to be able to have enough distance out to make the turn in.
Okay.
And to give you a little bit better idea, those bays are already behind the wall. They're not seen by the houses. And everything at that wall, the wall is right on the property line. So what they're doing is trying to modify so that they can get in, and they're going to try to keep the same type of footprint that's already there.
Jim wanted me to talk a little bit about the landscaping that is behind the building. Right now, there probably isn't anything that's in that 5 foot that's existing. But the proposal is to put a viburnum hedge in there, which is a very dense hedge. Of course, it's on the other side of the wall, so the residents really won't see that. But we do have a series of trees that are along the back. And the good thing about trees is they do have a canopy that extends above the wall. As Jim mentioned, the code requirement is 6 foot for a wall. The existing wall that's there is 8 foot tall, and we think that's good because it offers a little bit more protection. And I think the trees that are going to be planted, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trees that are just along that back wall. The canopies will come up above the top of the wall, and I think that'll help too. So if you go back there and look at what a resident would see now between the wall in the building versus what they'll see after the new building was built. I think the extra trees will also help.
Okay.
The big difference, though, is along Nova Road. It'll be a major transformation. If you drive by that site on Nova Road and 92, it'll be just a super major difference.
Okay. Mr. Barhu?
Did Ms. Ford's questions get answered?
Well, no, because I asked how tall is the current wall at his previous dealership, at the current dealership.
I believe the current wall, Jim indicated, is approximately 8 foot tall.
Her question is at the Walker Street dealership.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The Walker Street, and we actually did that site some time ago, and that has, you have the right-of-way line, and then there's a 10-foot buffer that's on the outside, which is typical if we put a wall along a right-of-way, and then you have the wall. On the inside, that wall is 6 feet high. On the outside, it may appear a little taller. I'm not sure, because it depends what that grade is. It kind of changes along the back, but that wall, I would guess, is anywhere from 6 to 8 foot tall on the backside.
Okay. And I asked that question because we don't have a lot of the noise disturbance with where my parents' house is now. So I'm trying to compare it to what you're trying to do at the new property.
Yeah, I would say the wall at this location is at least as tall, but it may be actually taller.
That's probably
Okay.
taller.
And while Mark was speaking, for both board members here, I went over and asked Mr. Berger about the landscape plan, and we'll take a look further at the landscaping plan, because to one thing, the hedge plants, while they might be code compliant, don't really make much difference to anybody. So that we could look at working with the staff on a plan that you might say as board, well, it's not 100% code compliant, but it's a better approach because you got more canopy, which gives you more buffer, which is going to dampen down the noise, do everything light, whatever the case might be, with the exception of oak pollen. I don't know what you do about that. I'd like to know.
Well, first of all, one is a comment to have something done to that site and for it to cross two major thoroughway within the city, I think it's definitely a plus to do something with that. My question is, will a current traffic study be done for the ingress and egress of traffic into and out of that building? I know the old traffic pattern, of course, they had the ingress and egress there based on the population at that time and the traffic, and of course, we've had some widening and some road changes. Will there be an additional traffic study done?
I don't think there is an additional traffic study in the traditional sense, Mr. Barhu, and if I might, I'm going to address the board, but from a traffic study perspective, typically you'd look at traffic counts for a new use, since it's a replacement use, effectively the same. There won't be a new traffic study because the trip generation is going to be about the same. From a standpoint of the site design, the ingress, egress to the site is being designed to be consistent with city standards.
Okay, and so that, again, that corner, that area is already complicated by
Yes, sir.
folks going in and out. Far as greater traffic backup on International Speedway and then also on Nova Road, folks coming in and out.
Yep.
It can be very dangerous for folks, so.
Yep. There's no
that is
question.
something that,
No question that it's tricky. And, you know, it's, when you think back to when all the automotive dealers effectively were on 92, a few were on Mason, but then the move came along with the marketing ideas that the auto mall would be the right idea. Buick moved west, everything moved away, and Ford and Lincoln Mercury, in a sense, went away as a brand, and the dealership languished. But from the perspective of Mr. Dannenhauer, he has stayed more in the core of Daytona and done business here, and he's investing in it again. And this is in the redevelopment area, and of course with tax increment financing, this is going to be an improvement to the tax base that your board has to do other work within the city. And, you know, it's not lost on us that there was some controversy in keeping the automotive zoning, but really this is the right reuse of the property, and with O'Reilly's coming in, you're seeing happen in the center of Daytona equivalent to what's happening down near the center of Port Orange at Dunlawton and Nova Road. And of course, Port Orange over the years, most recently, has been developing more, and Daytona Beach is working on coming back. So we think this is a positive contribution, but we're certainly going to try to make the best that we can, and we'll work with the staff on these issues.
well, absolutely. I think it's definitely a positive venue for our city and for the Midtown area. My concern, again, is the safety of our citizens in our community. And I think from that standpoint, going in and out, I've traveled it many times, I
Yeah.
mean, pretty much every day. And so, again, with folks going in and coming out of the business, I was just wondering, was there going to be any additional precautions or cautions that go up there only from a safety perspective?
If I might, let me talk a little bit about the design review process, because we're here with your board as a citizens board to get your input, but we also deal with the professional staff of the city, which includes their traffic engineering section, and Mike Markham is the person that handles that from the city's perspective, in conjunction with city engineering, the utilities folks, planning folks. And primarily traffic deals with the design standards on driveway radius, placement, et cetera. And I know it's been a while that people have talked about how do you deal with Krispy Kreme and the traffic that it has and working the driveways around that. So the staff is acutely aware of that. And this is a new site plan. It isn't one that's being just simply re-put out. So we're going to meet the current city standards. We have current city review, and they're going to look at these things. And when you think about the driveways, I guess the three essentials to me is placement, width, and radius of the driveway so people can safely move, people can safely see. And I think probably the 92 side is a greater problem than the Nova side simply because of the way traffic backs up. The Nova side, I think, will be a reasonably easy one to work with. I guess if you got somebody at the tail end of a green light, that might be an issue, but we're going to work on all that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sure.
Yes.
The existing wall is 8 feet tall. Is that a masonry wall?
Yes, sir, it is.
What happens to the residential side of the wall? Is that a stucco finish? Is it?
No, sir, it looks to me like it's a raw block
concrete
finish.
block?
If it was ever painted, I can't tell it now. It is a dark green. It's mildewed or molded. From the perspective of maintaining the wall or painting the wall, with the property owner's permission, we'd do it, but we have to have their permission.
Right. So it would really be up to the property owners to give you permission to go in there and just spruce it up or make
Yes,
it
sir.
look acceptable. What about Lot 20, which is where the wall jogs? It's on the north side. That lot, that residential lot, has two sides that are walls.
Okay, you're talking on the southern end.
On the southern end,
Yes, sir.
yes. So, and then it appears to me, I'm not sure, there's no scale or dimensions on these drawings, but it appears to me that that buffer is thinner than the buffer on the west side, or the, yeah. Is that true? That adjacent to Lot 20, just, maybe it's an illusion, but it looks like it's thinner than the buffer right behind the maintenance building?
It is. It's actually right at 5 feet, and the waiver is for 5 feet. The one that's right behind the building, I think, is 6.5.
Okay.
It's a little bit bigger.
So it's slightly bigger than the 5, which is,
And currently on that side, I don't believe there's any buffer at all under the existing condition, but we're putting a buffer in there to have landscaping against the wall.
so there's, the wall to the, adjacent to that Lot 20, there's no buffers required?
No, sir, no, sir, there's none currently provided, or they weren't provided in the
Before?
old site. Yes, sir.
So the way it exists today, there's no buffer whatsoever, just the wall itself?
There wasn't under the old site. I consider the site presently as sort of a raw site.
Right.
That it's not fair to say it doesn't exist, but we know in the past one did not, and we intend to put one there. I would say one other thing, if I might, sir. The wall terminates at the street at that corner, and you can see the landscape buffers where the wall terminates, and now your street side and parallel is a much larger buffer, which happens to be across the street from the sides of the commercial buildings, but I suppose from the way the design was done, initially, commercial was fronting on 92, and the wall terminated there where the residential uses ended. It's what it looks like to me. I don't know that, but just by observation.
So the wall does terminate right at Harvey?
Yes, sir.
At the end, okay.
Yeah.
So in that regard, having landscaping there is an improvement. The distance between, and I understand circulation, on the back side of the proposed maintenance service building, is that a 24-foot?
I believe it is. I'd have to pull out a dimension drawing to see, but the aisle in the front, that you see in front of the building, that is 24 foot, and that appears to be the same distance.
And that allows you to do the 90-degree turn in and out?
It does. It's not as good as what we'd like to have. My preference would be to have 30.
Right.
But it's very tight. They've kind of done a little bit with the doors to make the doors bigger. Also, I did want to point out one other thing. A lot of times you're used to these body shops having overhead doors, and the overhead doors are open. Gib Danahauer wanted me to point out that this is an air-conditioned facility. So if you have overhead doors, they're going to be shut. And that's just one more thing that helps control noise inside the building. So I wanted to point that out.
So once you pull in, those doors won't be open all the time?
That is correct.
During service time? Well, that's nice. The height of the building, so if you're in the residential, if you're in your home and you're looking out to the back, you got an 8-foot wall, but you may see the top of that, the rear of the building?
You probably
Perhaps.
would. The building is probably going to be about the same height as it is now out there. It's a very similar type. Actually, for some time, we were working with the existing building, and it got to where they were about $100,000 apart from renovating the old building or new construction, and the decision was made to move to new construction. But as far as the height from the back, it's going to be very similar to what's there today.
Okay. It appears to be a metal building that'll be painted?
It is, and it has, I believe on the front, it has treatment, architectural treatment.
Yeah, yes.
It went through actually a couple of cycles with staff to get to the elevations that you see here.
Okay. So if the residents were obliging, you would do something to the back of that wall to improve the look of it?
Well, you could do something. I'm thinking that what might actually be preferable is to try and add more trees with canopy that extend above the wall. So right now we have an 8-foot wall, which is really good. I think that's a good start. And then I'm thinking what can be done, above the wall. So if we can make it green, that's probably better than even,
Yeah.
looking at a building. So that was my thought. If we were going to look at what could be done back there, I'm suggesting tree canopies up there,
Well, that would be nice, and that does diffuse any service noise that would be back there. But if it's
Yeah.
air-conditioned space, you're really limiting the noise anyway.
So that would be our suggestion. That's what we've kind of kicked around.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuqua, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions at this time.
No questions, sir.
Okay. Any further questions, Ms. Hurd?
Other than I'm excited that we're going to be doing something with that property there because it's been eyesore for a very, very long time. And you call it existing. How do you call it existing? It's been closed for how many years now?
Well, look at you and I. We're still existing. But we're not as long as we were 20 years ago. So that's how I call it that.
Okay.
Mr. Ross?
No question at this time.
Dr. Jameson? Mr. Barhu?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. Then at this time, we've looked over this conceptual plan. Is there any motion needed by the board? Okay.
Chairman and board members, if I might, thank you for your time. We'll see you soon with another review. Dr. Jameson, I'll go down on the street.
And we appreciate that because getting the residents behind it.
I understand. I just finished one in Port Orange. It was in the newspapers. You didn't hear about it anymore after I got involved, and we substituted more trees to try and make people happy, and we wound up doing it. So.
Oh, by the way, Attorney, you have truly changed in the last 20-something years.
Haven't we all?
For the better.
Thank you. Mr. Miller and I go back a day or two. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Danenhauer, thank you for the work that you're doing on that property.
Well, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And we want you to make a lot of money, too.
Money's not important.
Oh, really?
We just want to make friends. Thank you.
That's what you tell your salesman every day?
So that I can stop paying my car payment? I want to be his friend.
All right, we are ready for our redevelopment project updates. Mr. McGee? Sure. We thank you for coming out to the meeting, and we appreciate all the work you've done over these last 15 years on this board.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
See you again.
All right.
Board, by now, you all should have received a letter in the mail or email, phone call about the Midtown workshop that will be April the 22nd from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. Hopefully not that long, but we have a schedule anyway. Downstairs in room number 149B. I'm asking again, please send me your input on what you would like to see at the workshop. I have put together some information for you for the workshop, but I would like to get your input also. So please email me or call me and let me know what you would like to see at the workshop.
I had a question, Mr. Bryant. For 4 hours, what are we going to do?
Well, hopefully it won't be that long, but we've got a schedule. We have the room space. It depends on the board. If the information that you pass on to me, we'll try to make sure we have it in an agenda format, so we can go by the agenda, and hopefully we won't be there for 4 hours. But I schedule like that, Pastor Bahu, because we have been in meetings for 4 hours before. So we want to make sure that it's a workshop, that we can make sure that we cover all the issues at that time.
Yes, sir.
So I'm asking you, the board has been asking for a workshop, so here it is. So we want your input so we can put together an agenda, so we can hopefully have everything and do it in a timely fashion.
Yes, sir.
And get out of there. I want to go home too, Pastor Bahu. So that's for the April 22nd. The only other item that I have is I've been trying to get out in the community to look around. I was out today for a little while, riding around looking at some of the projects that are coming out, and trying to get some other things going. We've got a lot of interest. Been receiving a lot of interest in buildings in Midtown on Mary McLeod Bethune and Orange Avenue. I guess people are starting to get more into and feeling better about opening up businesses. We've been getting a lot of inquiries by restaurants in our area. So hopefully some of those will come through fruition, and we'll be able to generate additional income for Midtown. Other than that, I've been trying to follow up on any complaints or any actions that is required in the Midtown area. I get the calls, and I'll try to work with code enforcement, and a lot of times I get calls that they don't get calls on. And actually, I think Mr. Lopez is doing a good job, but he's not as familiar with the area as I am. That's why I can answer some of the questions he can't answer. And his area is not only Midtown, he's doing other areas also. But he and I do work together, and I work with code enforcement and the police department. So we are a team, and we work together to try to eliminate any issues that might come up. This is the Easter season, and I want to wish everyone a happy Easter, and I hope you don't eat too many eggs, because we're trying to control everything in Daytona Beach, so don't eat too many eggs for Easter, but have a happy Easter, and I'll entertain any questions or concern anyone may have.
Mr. Bryant, are there anything happening on that Father Lopez property?
Okay. I just had a short meeting with Mr. Emory Counts today. I know the health department has met with Walmart in New Smyrna. They're trying to speak with them and get them to maybe do a smaller Walmart like they have the one in Holly Hill. They did one in New Smyrna. And because the reason they did the one in New Smyrna was because it was a food desert also. So I did talk with the health department today, and they are trying to assist us in getting a smaller Walmart store on that site. You must have listened in on my conversation.
No, I didn't. I passed by there today, and I was just thinking, what a shame that, that big piece of property is there and nothing happening. And of course, I'm very concerned with having grocery stores in our neighborhood. We need something like that. And I was hoping that you said something like what you just said. Thank you.
Yeah, and in addition to the Dollar General, I know that corporate headquarters has been notified, and I've talked with someone today, and they do have someone from corporate looking into the Dollar General store on the ISB also. So it takes citizens' input and their concerns to voice their opinions at the highest level, sometimes to help us to get where we want to go. We as staff can only make recommendations according to the Land Development Code, but sometimes they can step outside the box and they can assist us, which in this case they are.
Great.
I noticed a lot of men on Orange Avenue. Are they beginning to prepare to start that construction?
I have to defer to Reed on that one.
There's a lot of work. I saw some cabling out there yesterday, right after that big storm blew through here, and so they're doing some of the utility prep work, anticipation of doing some of the excavation and work and mobilize. Of course, as they do that, they'll be going section by section, and they'll work with the people in that affected area too as they move along. So it'll happen over time, and you'll just see them shift and move that project from one section to the next.
Anything else, Charles?
Other than we are continue to show our appreciation for residents that pass and that contributed to the Daytona Beach community by doing the resolution, and in cases allowable, I attend the services. And Dr. Jameson, our condolences go out to you for your in the loss of your sister. And we've had some other people that contributed greatly to the Daytona Beach area, and I'd just like to send our condolences out to their families. We continue to thank them for their contribution to the city of Daytona Beach and what they've done. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I've got this, that we have a speaker late. The conceptual plan had already been talked about, but Ms. Jones just gave me a sheet wishing to address the conceptual plan. Come on up, Ms. Jones. And you have a 2-minute time limit.
My name is Patricia Jones, and I live in the 32114 area code. My concern was that there was a question asked by the board about the wall on the resident side, the buffer wall on the resident side. I don't feel that was answered adequately. They were concerned about the canopy of trees on the business side that would have a effect of the sound effect on the residential side, and it was asked what would be done about that fence. They said, the buffer, it was mildewed and all of that. Nobody really addressed that properly for the question that was asked, and that was my concern. If there's something to be done, it needs to be brought to their attention that they didn't address that issue.
Well, the answer that was given was that they can't do anything without the permission of the residents, because that wall is right on the property line. They would have to go into the residents' property to do anything with that wall. So they have said that they will talk with the residents.
Okay, but they didn't give any suggestions about what they might do if they did have the approval of the residents to do that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I would like to make an apology for not being here. I took care of my sister for 8 weeks. I was sick, and this is the first of the year, and I had to do stuff at my church for getting things out. So this is my first meeting of the year, and okay. I'm glad to be back.
All right, thank you for coming.
If I could, in response to that, what staff will do is we will ask them what their plans are. We'll encourage them to have those conversations with the adjacent property owners and make sure that there's some communication and what ultimately their plan is, and maybe we'll know that by the time we get in front of you the next time.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be real helpful.
Okay.
I have a sheet here from Mr. Pierre Lewis.
Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. It's good to see the board members again and some new faces that I've seen around also, too. I apologize, too. It's been a while since I've been on the board, too. But we've expanded now from our 3 computer centers, and now we opened up the 4th. And the board, I know, has heard me as a programmer talk a lot about IT and talk a lot about the Wi-Fi. Well, one of the things that I know that we're doing at our new center, it's actually a completely wireless center. So we're making that progress that I've talked to the board a lot about, and I wonder whether, I guess probably ask Mr. Bryant, whether the city still has the Wi-Fi. I know they still have it on the beach side, and I know they created those other access points, as I talked before, from Orange Avenue to Palmetto. And that's as far as they went, but as far as still creating those access points in those areas that are there, I still haven't seen those yet. I'm hoping that that is something that is going to be in the wireless, in the master plan, that they're talking about the IT portion of that, because I work with a digital generation, and we all do, we know they're out there, so I would like to see some of that included into the master plan too. The other thing is that we are looking at constructing that new building a little bit differently, where we'll have wireless access there. And I know I have so much time, so there's actually 2 points, and the other point I want to make about the water, but I heard somebody say earlier, they were talking about, I think it was Mr. Miller, said something about the Father Lopez, or Mr. Brown were talking about in that area. I thought before, I went to some meetings, and they were actually, Walmart was supposed to create a Walmart in that area. That was the reason that, well, not the only reason, but part of the reason was why Father Lopez moved from there. And that Walmart was going to create there, and then all of the Tire Kingdom and them, they decided that they didn't want that, well, for whatever reason it was. We got there, we were on quite a few meetings at the church up there. Remember, you're shaking your head, Mr. Bright, so you know what I'm talking about? And they were supposed to move in there before, but for some reason they did not move in there. So maybe the board can give some feedback on that. But the other reason I marked on my sheet was, I can't remember, I'm running out of time, but I'll try to make it quick. There's a letter that I received from the city about the water. I'm wondering if I was the only one that got that, about the coliform bacteria, because I addressed it and I mentioned, you've already discussed it?
No, we received it.
You received it? Because I mentioned it before, and I called Ms. Cook that was on there. I said I saw the letter and I was concerned about it. I'm a health guy. Everybody knows I'm retired, so I tend to juice a lot. So I wash a lot of my vegetables. I'm juicing for my aunt. I'm juicing for my mother. I've got all these vegetables from Lee's Market.
30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah. And I said to them, I called her and I said, what am I juice? What kind of water am I putting on the vegetables there? She explained to me that although we're only 9% over the limit, we're supposed to have 5% or whatever, we're only 9% over that time. They're supposed to send us some subsequent paperwork on that, but I have yet to receive that in the mail. So maybe somebody else received it, but I have not.
Okay.
Okay? That was it. Thank you.
All right.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, and in regard to the water situation, we have spoken with people in the lab directly. And what happened is in January, it was 0.9 over the 5 limit that it was supposed to have.
That's what the EPA says.
Right. And the EPA people have all checked it out. The next time that it was read, everything was fine. We found out that they've treated everything, they've added more treatment in, and the water came back fine. So that particular letter was sent out 3 months after everything was checked out. And that's because that's what the law says.
That's not this letter I'm talking about. This
Yes,
letter
it
was
is.
sent. Oh, okay. I'm not reading-
Specifically that letter.
Okay, because this letter, okay, I
Yeah,
have to stand corrected then.
Yeah. Now, we also found out that on the website for the city is the quality of the drinking water. It's on the website under the Under
Now,
utilities.
I did ask that question, and she told me they didn't have it on the website, so maybe she's put it there now.
No, it's on there now.
Do you know what link it is?
It's under utilities.
I looked under utilities, I didn't see it.
Yeah, and the reason I know it's there because I talked with the national EPA.
I did too.
And I found it with them.
I called them.
Okay.
Okay. I'll look for it on the city's website. All right.
It's on there.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make acknowledgement that we do have the alternate the design professional in the office, Mr. Schwartz. Would you just please?
Welcome. All right, those are the only two forms that we received for public comment. Now we'll go to our board comments. We'll begin with Mr. Bahu.
No further comments other than have a wonderful, blessed Easter.
All right, Mr. Ross.
None at this time.
Mr. Fuqua.
I would like to say, I'm really excited about the new development that's coming to the Midtown area, and I think that it's just going to really make a major impact on the Midtown redevelopment area.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Miller?
No comment at this time, sir.
All right, Dr. Jameson.
I want to welcome our new design. I'm going to really miss Bill, but you are welcome. I'm glad
Ken.
that you're here. Thank you.
Ms. Ford.
I want to welcome all of our new board members. I was not here last month, so welcome to our board, and I am excited about the new things that's going on in Midtown. I just want to make sure that everything comes in consideration of the residents, because I was raised with a dealership in front of my house, but of course with the buffer in the walls, things worked out for us, and my parents' home still exists there, but just want to make sure everything is appropriate for the residents that's going to be dealing with a dealership right there in their neighborhood. Have a wonderful Easter.
Ms. Hurd.
Thank you. I would like to welcome.
Use your microphone.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I would like to welcome the new members of the board, both architects, the assistant, and the main one. And we always going to miss Ken, but we know time, over a period of time, everything changes. I also would like to indicate that the Mary McLeod Bethune Cultural Heritage Arts Festival has begun. They had the reception last night, and it's still going on all week. And tomorrow night, Dr. Bethune invite all of us to go to the Blight Film Festival red carpet event at the Cinematique on B Street, and the price is $10. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we will be in the park along with other activities, and Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, the Pack Center, the annual concert, Bethune-Cookman annual concert will be given at 4 o'clock. To each of you, have a happy, happy resurrection. Don't eat too many eggs, as has been stated, and we'll see you on the 22nd.
Did you have any comment?
I just want to say I'm very pleased to be here, and I appreciate everyone's warm welcome, and I look forward to engaging in the Midtown. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Mr. Miller, if your question is not going to stir up a huge
No, it's not.
discussion.
I assure you it's not. I just want to thank staff for taking the time out and looking at that date for the workshop and not doing it on the 15th and doing it on the 22nd, because I would not have been present because of my tights practice.
All right. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. We especially want to thank and welcome on board Mr. Joseph Pazzulli. And we thank you for being here. I think your input will be very, very good to our board. We're going to miss Ken, no doubt. Midtown is in his heart, and he practices in Midtown, so we're really going to miss him. He came out earlier and had to leave early, but we do want to let everyone know to please express your thanks to him as you see him. I thank, of course, our staff for doing a marvelous job. Now, Secretary, please tell me your name again.
Joanne Crowley.
Ms. Crowley, thank you for filling in tonight. You did a marvelous job. Thank you so much. And of course, Mr. Berger, Mr. Gross, and of course, our favorite, Mr. Bryant, and the audiovisual department, we thank you for your help. At this time,
I'll ask one question if I can. Can we give him a plaque from the city? Can we give him?
Yeah, what I would suggest is, this is another reason, come to the workshop. Ken's going to be there. This is an opportunity. Okay?
Good. Thank you.
Hopefully he doesn't watch this.
No, he's on his way home.
Tell his wife to tell me to turn it off.
All right, and we will adjourn our meeting.